Hey everybody, welcome back to the Field of Greens podcast. We also want to welcome in our YouTube audience. We're doing a 2-for-1 tonight. Got a lot of important stuff to talk about, so we wanted to get it on both the podcast as well as YouTube channels. So kind of bear with me, whether you're watching on YouTube, whether you're listening to the podcast. We might kind of refer to a few things that if you're listening to the podcast, you might not be able to see. So anyway, so we want to talk about the best food plot seed to plant. And the reason I want to talk about that, just dealing with a lot of customers recently, a lot of questions, a lot of calls, and unfortunately, I talk about this often, just a lot of nonsense and, bought and paid for information on social media, YouTube. I see it myself, just kind of giggle at some of this stuff, pro staffers, paid YouTube channels, and I don't know if this is a real channel or not, it's just like Mike's Big Buck Hunting channel. Mike is sponsored by the the latest and greatest seed company, and you got to plant this. This is the number one planting. Let's say he's talking about brassica. Okay, well, a lot of people watching that are farming in northern Wisconsin, maybe Pennsylvania, places with rocky ground, dry ground. You got a quarter-acre food plot, but they saw something on Mike's Big Buck Hunting channel, and so they go out and buy this brassica blend, and then they're calling me, hey, how come I got a failure? What do you think I should plant? And, I see that a lot, and it's unfortunate. I get it, why these guys have hunting channels and blah, blah, blah. And it's just they put out such bad information just because they're bought and paid for, and it's just very unfortunate. So we don't do that. I don't have paid pro staffers. I don't have people doing that. We have some partners we work with, and they've got their own opinions on things, but by and large, I don't see anything crazy like guys recommending. Nobody on our team or our, that we work with would tell somebody to plant brassica and sand just because we're writing them a check, and we don't do that. And it's just, it's just becoming worse and worse every year. And the hard part about it is that a lot of times, and I don't know how to word this correctly, but we have to clean up the mess. And what I mean by that is again, we get some individual new to food plotting. And, he saw Mike's Big Buck Hunting channel, and Mike's recommending, now Billy Bob's brassica blend, and and he's got like I said, a quarter-acre food plot up on a sand ridge in shade, and, it grows 2 inches tall, and it doesn't amount to anything. And, he's looking at the, the advertisements for these seed companies, and they got these 2 and 3 foot tall brassicas, and he can't figure out why. So we're going to try to help these folks, okay? Everybody, and when we, just today alone here, it's the 13th of August. We had, in the last 6 hours here, since noon, we helped 5 different people. Missouri, Louisiana, Maine, Wisconsin, and here in Michigan. 5 completely different recommendations. And it's based off of, here you're watching on YouTube, we've got 8 questions we're going to run through. And obviously here on the podcast, if you're listening, you can't see it. But we're going to walk through what we want people to understand, that the best food plot planning for me here in Michigan might not be the same thing as, say, somebody in Iowa, or versus somebody in Florida, or versus somebody in Maine. There's a lot of criteria that go in, and I tell folks you might have to do a little homework, okay? So let's walk through that, and just hopefully, again, whether you're on the podcast listening or you're watching on YouTube, you can help yourself, help us help you. As that old, was it Jerry Maguire movie, Help Me, Help You? And we want to walk through some of these things that will help us determine, as well as yourself, what is the best food plot planting for your ground, your situation. So let's talk about them. There's 8 I have here. Number 1's location. Where are you in the country? Specifically, even, I'm very familiar with Michigan, very familiar with Wisconsin, starting to get familiar with Illinois. I almost narrow it down a county in Wisconsin and Michigan, because we have so many customers when we were there so much. Are you in the Northeast, big woods? Are you in Iowa or Missouri, the Corn Belt? Are you in Illinois? In parts of Illinois, it's got some of the greatest dirt in the world, but then there's parts of Illinois that's got really, horrible ground. So where are you? That will help us determine, as well as yourself, if you've watched our channel long enough, that will help us determine what blends we have here that will work, and what blends we probably want to avoid for a couple of years. But the biggest thing I ask folks, and this is number two, number one's location. Number two, soil. Do you have a soil test? You know, there's usually a quick 5 questions I ask folks. Do you have a soil test I can look at? You know, what's your ground like? Do you have good organic matter? Do you have organic matter of 1? What's your pH? If you got really low pH, we're probably not looking at doing brassicas because like I said in the last video, I don't think they taste the greatest to the deer, you know, and they're going to struggle. You got low organic matter. A lot of the white clovers that we sell, going to struggle. Brassicas, probably going to struggle, okay? And what our goal is, what your goal should be as a fall food plot, the most tonnage that piece of dirt, ground, soil, whatever you want to call it, that chunk, that 1/4 acre, that 1 acre, that 2 acres, we want to grow the most amount of food we can that is the best is that even a word? The highest palatability that that ground will produce. And it might not be what the guy, you know, 1 state over is planting. We have to figure out what's going to work the best for you on your ground in your situation. Let's see, what is your soil like? That is a huge part of the equation, your soil. Best to get a soil test. And I want to do a video walking through how you actually go to rockriverlabs.com, download the test kit. Now we've got a bunch here at the shop when folks come in the door and we're selling seed right here. I've got a stack of soil test kits with our name on it, but it goes to Rock River Labs. It's $10 to test. They do a phenomenal job for us. I know Brad Harper Growing Solutions, Full Spectrum Products, they have their own test, and it's more in depth. And Brad uses those to pinpoint how much of the Full Spectrum products. But I know enough with the Rock River Lab test, and I'm not affiliated with Rock River Labs. I just like to use what I think works the best. I've seen them from, you know, other seed companies. I've seen them from here in Michigan. Michigan State does a pretty good job, but a lot of times they don't list organic matter. I like Rock River Labs. It's $10. They got the P, the K, and the organic matter, CEC, and pH. And I can take that and get you really, really close. So it's all going to depend on what your soil is. Folks, I got to ask you a question quick. Take a break from the podcast. Has this happened to you? Have you fallen for the seed treatment, the powdered seed treatment? You know, you put the powdered seed treatment in your spreader. You go to spread your seed, and rather than being all over the seed where it should be, it's all over you, it's all over your hands, it's all over your pants, it's all over your shirt, it's lining the coating of your bag. I've done that before. Folks made the same mistake, had the same results. You spend all that money on that dried seed treatment, and it's everywhere but on the seed. Check out Northwoods Whitetails Full Spectrum Products Liquid Seed Treatment, the first of its kind. It actually stays on the seed where it belongs, not all over you. Northwoods Whitetails Full Spectrum Products Seed Treatment. Check it out right here. Plot size, and I kind of have a sub text there. How much shade, how much sun. I don't have it on the blackboard behind me, but plot size. How big is this food plot? Are we talking a 1/4 acre kill plot in the woods? Are we talking a 3 acre destination feed field? What are we looking at? What is the objective for this food plot? Are we trying to bow hunt, archery hunt over this little plot outside of a destination feed field? What are we doing? How big is this food plot? Okay, that helps a lot in determining whether it's going to be a monoculture planting, like say something like a Seclusion 360, or are we going to do the 3-strip system where we're going to do one of the clover blends, we're going to do some brassicas, we're going to do some cereal grains, okay, a green base. What are we doing with this food plot? How big is it? And what are our options? All right, that's number 3, plot size. Number 4, big thing, equipment. What equipment do you have? Okay, we've worked with people that just have a lawn rake, a backpack sprayer, and that's it. Maybe some snippers and a chainsaw, and they got a great little food plot in the woods. We worked with people with, you know, $150,000 planting rigs. That's basically almost agricultural. So we've worked from one side of the spectrum to the other. And, you know, there's a million different ways in this country people plant food plots. You know, my equipment list might be different than, say, my friend and partner Elliot Hubbard with versus Jake Ealinger versus Randy, you know, our partners. Brandon, First Choice Food Plots, he's got a beautiful lineup of equipment, completely different than what everybody else here on the Northwoods team has, but Brandon does that for a living, but we still talk back and forth on seed selection and stuff like that. So what equipment do you have? Okay, are you hiring this out? Can you hire this out, like when it comes to doing switchgrass? Okay, you might not have the proper equipment to do switchgrass. Okay, so I've done everything from, we're blessed and we have a drill now, but we're still doing a lot of what I call the old-fashioned, where it involves a tiller or a disc or something like that, because it's relevant to probably 90% of our listeners, our YouTube audience, our customers don't have access to a drill. So I don't want to just say, hey, I'm planting everything with a drill and become irrelevant to everybody else. But I know we're still doing some chainsaw work and a backpack and a leaf blower and something like that across the street, because it's so rocky. I can't do any kind of tillage. You don't dare take a piece of equipment over there. So we still have to do a little bit of no-till over there, but that's a whole nother video and that's coming. But what is your equipment list? What can you plant with? So many people have a quad and the equipment that goes behind a quad, a four-wheeler, side-by-side. What equipment do you have? Are you able to plant some of these bigger seeds that need to be buried? Or do you just have a sprayer and a lawn roller? That's it. Okay, so then we're going to look at maybe a smaller seed selection. Or if you want to plant cereal grains, we might just stick with rye, because some of those other bigger seeds, I'm sorry, they need to be buried. So equipment, think about what you've got. What do you have access to? Okay. Number 5, and this one's kind of a tough one to figure out. What are your neighbors doing? What are your neighbors planting? Now if you're in the big woods, that might be tough. It might involve going and talking to them, or maybe flying a drone over. So, what are your neighbors doing? Or are you an ag? What are the farmers planting? What are you combating in the spring? And, what do you have to go against? So if you're early season hunting, okay, Wisconsin starts, I think, the second week of September. Everything's green. They're still in their bachelor groups. Okay, what are you going against? We need to have some attraction to pull off those green fields. Number 6, what's your budget? Okay, obviously the biggest thing is going to be, we need to get that soil right. Okay, so if we're going to start spending money, we need to make sure that soil's right. We want to make sure the pH is correct. We have to start spending money on lime. Okay, do you have a small budget? Okay, keep in mind there's going to be maintenance on equipment. There's going to be fuel to get you to and from your food plots, especially if we call them weekend warriors. You can only get up to camp, it's 2, 3, 4 hours away. Okay, that all has to fall in that budget. Okay, so what is your budget for seed? Are you able to buy the proper fertilizer to keep that seed going to reach its full potential? What is your budget for the whole project? And it doesn't just include the seed. Think about that budget. Number 7, experience. Okay, we deal with a lot of first-time food plotters. There's somebody watching this video right now or listening to this podcast, never planted a food plot in their life. Okay, and I think they understand that the drawing power and holding power of a good food plot will greatly increase their chances of success in holding deer on their property. So they want to take that step. And I took that step back in, I want to say 2001 is when I did my first food plot. And we're actually, that's going to be another cool video coming up in the next couple of weeks. We're going to revisit that and what we all did and what was all involved in our very first food plot. But anyway, what's your experience? Okay, have you even planted a garden? Have you ever planted anything? Planted a lawn? Okay, there's folks we deal with that have never done any kind of farming in their life. So that is going to change my thought process on recommending seed. What can they do based on those things we talked about before? What's your equipment? What's your soil like? Okay, we need something that's going to grow fairly easily. And, we want to see that green food plot. They're going to feel great about their efforts, but we also know that they might not be able to, see some situations that might cause some issues. So let's get them into planting something relatively easy that we know is going to grow, produce a nice green food plot. And then as they get more experience, we might swap out some of the planting strategies. But what is your experience? Okay, are you capable of planting a switchgrass? Are you capable of planting brassicas? Okay, Do you understand with brassicas that you cannot put down 8, 9, 10, 15 pounds per acre because you're going to have stunted plants? Do you understand that? Okay, and again, I'm not trying to disparage anybody. I'm just being, these are the questions that we deal with every day. So trying to get you to make the correct seed choice with our help that's going to give you the best chance of success to get the most tonnage out of your food plots here in 2025. And lastly, time. And what I mean by that is I can go to our leases for the most part just about any time of the day. We got the food plot in the backyard here that's 30 seconds out the back door. We've got a lease that's I think it's 10 minutes away. We've got another piece of ground we're working on and hunting on that's 21 minutes away, and then a new one we're working on this year that's 42 minutes away. So I've got 3 parcels that we're working on and hunting on that are all within an hour. So I can pretty much get to them, at a moment's notice. Most people aren't blessed that way, okay? Work all week, maybe get a day off on the weekend, maybe have to take a day of vacation. So, and then there's folks that we deal with that get to their hunting parcels. They have a lot of folks that live on the East Coast, and they might have a farm in Ohio, Illinois, and they only get there 2 or 3 times a year, or it's like a 15 or 16 hour drive, and so they can't, get up there 3 or 4 or 5 times a year to work on food plots. So we kind of look at, can we get somebody out there to do the work for you? Can you hire it out? Okay, we might look at some more, a heavier percentage of perennials that might be a little less maintenance once they're growing versus, okay, we got to go up and get this sprayed, get this worked up, get the ground, get the seed put in. And, we have to work around those programs, and we do that a lot. And I think we're pretty good at doing it because we've dealt with it so many times. But what is your time? Can you dedicate, a weekend to put this brassica plot in, or 2 weekends to put the 3-strip system in? Do you have time to maintain clover? Because right now, I've not seen this kind of growth out of our clover ever in the backyard, and I think a lot of it's got to do with the full spectrum products, but also that humics that we're trying. We mowed that clover, I want to say 12 days ago, and we're going to have to mow it again. And there's deer in it every night. They just cannot keep up right now. And the clover's growing ridiculous. Can you maintain that? Okay, so there's a lot of questions, as far as time is concerned, especially with absentee landowners. If they have to do all their planting in one weekend, I like brassicas planted 2 to 3 weeks before our fall forage. Okay, all right, so then maybe we're going to do the fall forage, but we're going to go with the short season brassica instead, just because they're planting, August 19th or something like that. But you can't, the gist of this whole video and podcast is this. There's so much information out there right now, and I hear it. I would I would love to share these with folks. There's just so much information. I don't know where to turn. I don't know who to trust. I don't know who to believe. I hear that every day because we talk to so many people. There's days where we're answering literally hundreds of emails and text messages. It takes hours for us to do it, but we do it. Because back in 2001, when I first started food plots, it started out with cereal rye. And then I think I talked about it on, the brassica mistake video, how I went down, I had a 1/4 acre food plot, and I went down to, the local feed mill, and they sold me 10 pounds of sugar beets and then, 4 or 5 pounds of turnips and some clover, and it looked like a golf course lawn. Nobody was out there talking about, don't plant sugar beets in the fall, plus seeding rates or anything like that. And that's what we're trying to do. There's a lot of people trying to get you to buy a certain food plot seed, like I said, these hunting pages, these hunting shows, these hunting channels. My question is why? Okay, I've got a piece of ground right now that we can't grow brassicas on. So when Mike's hunting page is promoting, a brassica blend, well, if I didn't know any better, I'd get sucked into that nonsense and go and buy a bag of brassica or a jug of brassica and go put it out there in the crappy ground, and then wonder why October 5th, brassica is 2 inches tall, and well, it looks so great on Mike's hunting show. Well, yeah, it's because Mike's hunting show is out of Iowa. They got the greatest dirt in the world. And so I think the thing that sets us apart from everybody else is we bring you this information, okay? I have talked literally dozens of people in the last 3 weeks out of buying our brassica blend because I know darn well they're not ready. And I tell the folks, I want you to be a customer for life. I don't want you to be a customer just today. So let's get your soil right. I know you want to plant brassicas. They look awesome and they work awesome. Let's get your soil right. Like I said, we work with a lot of guys and they all have their opinions on what works the best. But I've not seen any bad information. If I thought I saw something like, man, that doesn't make any sense, we'd have a conversation with them, say, give me your point of view. But I don't see that. I know some guys, like Nate's bow hunting, he loves oats and turnips, okay? Myself, I love brassicas, and then grains and clovers. I love that 3-strip system. Our buddy Jake down in Michigan, kind of let the cat out of the bag. He's doing a corn test for us. It turned out phenomenal. Well, I can't grow corn up here. So if say, Jake went on YouTube and said, you got to plant this corn, it's the best there is, blah, blah, blah. Well, I can't plant corn. But here at Northwoods, I think we're all smart enough and understand that it's not a one-size-fits-all thing, okay? And I think that's what sets us apart from everybody else is we bring you information like this. And all our partners will talk people out of planting something they know darn well will not work. So I just wanted to bring this information out there. Like I said, it's almost overload right now with all these people tugging at you and trying to get you to buy their sponsor products and stuff like that. And it just gets worse every year because honestly, it makes our job a little more difficult because we have to wade through that, and it, I get it, I understand it. People want to be on YouTube and everything. I get it, but man, there's a lot of bad information out there, and it just, like I said, it makes our job a little more difficult. And what's unfortunate is the people that listen to some of this information and they go and plant what these guys are saying to plant in this situation, it's not going to work, and they have a massive failure. It kind of wrecks their whole deer season. I mean, a lot of folks, what you do right now in the next, 3 to 6 weeks is going to make or break your deer season. And what I'm trying to do tonight is help you make that choice, or else help us help you make that choice so we get it right. We don't want to make a mistake. And mistakes happen, don't get me wrong, okay? I can't control Mother Nature. We can't control rain. We got half of Michigan's in a drought, and then we're dealing with folks down in, I don't know if you've seen the news on southeast Wisconsin, Milwaukee. The baseball stadium, they were 3 feet of water. I had a nephew at one of the games. He's like, it's unbelievable down here. And how many folks down in that part of the state of Wisconsin, they lost all their food plots. So now we're trying to come up with a plan to recover. We've got folks, our buddy Brad Harper, Full Spectrum, he's been in a drought since, gosh, I can't remember. He's like months, not a drop of rain. So we're going to work on that. I think they just might have got some rain tonight. But that's the kind of stuff we're dealing with. And what Brad's going to end up planting is completely different than what the folks in southeast Wisconsin that are trying to recover what they're going to plant. So again, folks, understand this. It's not a one-size-fits-all. And be very careful what you're consuming and actually listening to on social media. Hopefully this helps you, okay? Make good choices, because the next 3 to 5 weeks could make or break your hunting season, and we want it to make your hunting season. We've got products that can fix mistakes or help you get through a mistake or a failure, like the flood down by Milwaukee in southeast Wisconsin, or the drought in Michigan. We've got products and strategies to deal with that. But here's the thing, you look at, and I'm pointing on YouTube right now, if you're listening on the podcast, ask yourself these questions, okay? And kind of think about that. If you're going to ask us to help you, I will be asking you these questions, okay? It's not a one-size-fits-all. Let's get this right. Let's get this right the first time for a great, successful food plot, which is going to lead to a great hunt this year. So thank you so much for watching on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening to the Field of Greens podcast. Hopefully this helps, folks. We got part 2 of our best 2025 food plot planning series coming up. We're going to talk about cereal grains, and hopefully that'll fit into your program. Until then, we'll see you in a few days on YouTube, and we'll hopefully talk to you folks on the Field of Greens podcast within the next 2 weeks.